Well, welcome listeners to the Hope Matrix. Super grateful to have you here today listening. I'm really excited about our guest, Malia Pruyn. She is a senior at the University of Nevada, Reno. And we've been doing a lot of work lately on mental health in college campuses. There was actually a recent statistic that came out that 47% of kids on college campuses have anxiety and depression. We know it's been a really hard few years, so many changes, and we just recently launched Hopeful Mindsets on the college campus. So I'm excited to introduce Malia and to talk more about mental health and college campuses today. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. I just got my advising appointment and I'm set to graduate in the spring. So that's super exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, quite the journey. So I thought we would start by just talking a little bit more. You've been in the mental health space for a while, doing work in mental health, and just sharing a little bit more about the work you've done to date.
Absolutely. So I am a neuroscience major with a psychology minor and a dance minor, but that's just for fun. But through that, I ended up with a job at the crisis call center here in Reno, and it was an incredible experience for me. But I realized that a lot of what I was doing, because I was talking to people who were suicidal in that moment, who needed that immediate crisis support. And we have resources for when it is in that crisis support, but I ended up wanting more of that mental health that's not so much, that's more long-term, preventative, to help people from getting to that point. That what can we do after I get off the phone with them? What resources can I give them that will actually help them in the long term? So now I'm here. And I think that the most important thing here to realize is that from my work at the call center, it was always like, give them that thing, like let them hold on to whatever hope you can give them. And I'm like, it's not about that. You can't give somebody hope. You need to teach them hope. And hope is teachable. It's important to teach them that there are these skills that can help you get through this. You can't just give that to somebody. It doesn't work that way. So
that's amazing. Yeah. And that's actually how I met Malias on the campus of UNR. In getting involved in launching Hopeful Mindsets on the college campus. So as I had mentioned, we recently launched this new kind of program to teach this, key group, the how-to of hope. And we teach the new SHINE acronym, the 5 keys, those stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions, nourishing networks, and, eliminating challenges to hope, which are really the kind of key principles. And I bonded right away with Malia because of our wish for prevention, more of a prevention, not, intervention at time of crisis is so important. And yet what can we be doing upstream to improve hope and, to prevent that anxiety and depression in the future? And we know the research and science supports that if you can do that, you can prevent depressive episodes. So we're really grateful to have your support and to have you bring that knowledge from the Crisis Center and then really helping us activate college campuses on the science of hope. So, and it's so fun to be talking to you more. So what got you interested in mental health overall? Can you share a little to that?
So I have dealt with mental health struggles myself. When I was a sophomore in high school, 2 close family friends of mine died, and that kind of set me down a long road with my own mental health struggles. I'd always kind of dealt with anxiety, though not in the sense where I realized it was anxiety because I wasn't exposed to that. But I began therapy myself. I began learning skills. And now I'm doing so much better, but it was a really tough journey for a while because, it wasn't just the grief. It was the fact that that was what seemed to be the big component, and that's what set me off. But there was so much more going on that I needed help with, that I needed tools to work with to get me through this. And I think that those tools are the most important part, because it's not just that it applies not one situation, it's that you can apply those tools that you're learning to everything you do. And you don't have to be struggling with mental health to want to use hope to get through it, to use those tools. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're so grateful that you're open about your experiences. I think that really helps with stigma and getting other people talking about it, and so important.
Yeah.
What are you seeing now being back to school? What are you seeing on the college campus these days?
So I think it's really hard for a lot of people, because not only are these freshmen coming onto campus, but you have the sophomores from last year and even juniors who have not really had much in-person classes, in-person contact with people. They're struggling with feelings of isolation, stress about being in person, maybe from the pandemic, or maybe just because the workload seems so much more intense now. The college population is, of course, you said the statistic 47%, but I think in some ways, almost everyone is struggling with some sort of anxiety about school, anxiety about work, finances. There's so many different things as a college student that you have to that seems like you have to have all perfect all the time, but it's really not that way. It's just that's the stress put on you by others or intrinsically, or just there's seeing it happen. Even in my sorority, I see so many people who are struggling with balance, academics, social, trying to find those connections with people again, trying to make that support system. And it's really hard for a lot of people, especially newer freshmen and sophomores coming onto campus who have never experienced this before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's too, I was so excited to be able to produce this Hopeful Mindsets for the college campus. Part of the program is there are 10 lessons, it's 10 weeks. We talk to these experts that talk about the science, but then we also talk to recent graduates that talk about real life strategies on campus to help navigate all of these different things. And, as you said, there are so many challenges that a college student has to, it's the finances, it's, life that happens. So if you have death in the family or someone gets sick or, and it's, moving away from home for the first time, it's struggling with, the school load. There's just so many things. I was reminded as I kind of interviewed all of them, wow, it's a really challenging time, and which is, we know in times of great transition, it's even more important that we kind of use our hope skills to kind of serve as buffers against all the changes and to kind of fall into hopelessness. So it's a really important market. And I think, you touched really on these challenges, and then you add the pandemic and all of it's oh my.
No, the transitions are hard. For me, the transition to college really was hard for me with my mental health. I felt very isolated. And then when the pandemic started, it made me, given I was a sophomore, so I had more of a friend group, but I can't imagine the freshmen who came on feeling isolated and in that transition, and then to have to transition back to being at home and away from college life, because that transition was hard for me too. And I already had kind of some skills in place as to how to handle college life. And then there's just so much that this pandemic has caused in the college campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what we know about hope is it's our ability to kind of navigate those challenges and to overcome obstacles and set new goals when we have to, and, re-goal that is going to kind of predict how well we navigate it. And so as I was seeing it, I thought, I wish we'd been able to teach hope, pre-pandemic, so that we were more kind of equipped. And yet it's been a great opportunity to really kind of solidify those skills. So I'm grateful to do it. So, the first key we talk about for hope is the stress and identifying your stress response and then navigating it. Do you have any specific skills you use for college and dealing with the stress?
So something I always do, and if anyone has ever seen my calendar, they know that I time block every single thing I'm doing, whether or not I follow the more optional things, like I'm going to study this class here. Maybe I don't, but at least it's in my calendar and I can see where my time is laid out, which for me, being a planner, I always like to have everything organized. If I'm feeling very stressed, though, I'm a talker. I like to talk it out with somebody, or I like to journal if I don't have somebody to talk to. The journaling, or even a creative outlet. I'm a dancer. Sometimes getting in a dance class here or there just really allows me to have that expression, as well as the exercise. Or even painting. My grandmother's an artist, and I did not inherit those genes, but I do my best. But there are so many different ways that stress can manifest. And so for me, I know that sometimes I need to have the downtime to journal or talk to somebody, whereas other times I need to have the active time to dance or exercise or get outside. Just getting outside is the best thing. Fresh air makes all the difference. It's so important to get that vitamin D sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, those are wonderful and so important. And I think when we get in times of great stress, those are the things that kind of we go away from, because we focus on getting all our studies done. But yet that's the most important time to really make sure that you have times for that. I love the strategies of time blocking too. I think that's so, and then not beating yourself up if you don't, adhere to it. Yeah.
There's so many times where, maybe your day doesn't go as planned, but I had to learn this big time when college started, is that my day may not go to plan, but at least, hey, I can look back on it. Maybe I accomplished one thing, but hey, I got that one thing done, and that's one thing I don't have to do tomorrow. So, and then if you get more done, you get more done. But either way, and if you don't accomplish anything, well, hey, maybe you enjoyed your day in one small moment at least. And so looking back on the day, I like to, if I'm journaling, write down 3 things I'm grateful for, or 3 good things that happened to me that day at the very least. And those kind of help reframe the mindset a little bit that, maybe your day didn't go as planned, but hey, I had these 3 things. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that gets us kind of into the happiness habits and things that you like, really help you stay in that positive kind of mindset and healthy framework. And gratitude is an amazing practice for that. One of the things Dan Tomasulo, who's one of our experts, says, look at your day yesterday, write about your day as you see it, and then do another exercise and write about your day through the framework of gratitude, or the lens of gratitude. And it's like your day can completely change just based on that lens of gratitude. And so it's great that you do that daily kind of reminders, and, no matter how hard and challenging things can seem, there's always something we can be grateful for. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Is there anything else you do you mentioned dancing and getting outside in nature, but for happiness?
My big happiness things. I have a cat. I love taking care of something else that isn't yourself is sometimes a big happiness thing for me, because I'm like, here I am and I can help do maybe a nice thing for my cat or for my boyfriend. And sometimes that just makes me even happier. And I think that it also gives me something to be thankful for, that yes, I do have my cute little cuddly cat, or I do have my boyfriend, and having those connections is really important to me for happiness as well. A good, strong support system. I call my mom every day. I like to talk to her. And then happiness-wise, getting outside is something I haven't been able to do as much, but it's a huge thing for me. I love rock climbing, skiing. I'm so excited for ski season. When that happens, family ski days every Sunday. That's the go-to. So I'm so excited. And there's, at least daily, I try to do one thing that's, I guess, self-care, that happiness habit. That's for me. That just is to help me, feel like, hey, here's my little token of happiness for the day. Whether or not I've had multiple, or whether that's, my little thing I can pinpoint. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then when we talk about inspired actions, a lot of that and the science of hope is around goal setting and So when you think about it, if you hope for something, you want something, or you hope to achieve something in the future, and goals are a good way to kind of get there. And you actually mentioned one big goal of graduating next, in the spring. So that's amazing. So you clearly set some kind of goals.
I'm a big goal setter. My dad, I remember my dad and I have the best like conversations about like philosophical stuff sometimes, or we get super in depth to just like one little topic that's like a life-changing thing. And so I remember our conversation we had when I was in high school about goals, because I decided to graduate high school early. And so then it was a huge goal setting plan from there. Like I got to do this and this and this. And it's always that making sure I have a time stamp for that goal, making sure I know how I've achieved that goal. What do I do to track this goal? So for me, like for the example of the college graduation, UNR has this system that you can put into like classes into a planner. And so I put all my classes in my planner and I switch them around, and I'm like, I'm taking this class here, and then I mark them off when I take them. And so that's how I managed that. And it's always been goals. Goals are just how I track things, and it's so nice. And again, having my time blocking. So at the end of that time block, I can kind of look back on it and say, okay, here's what I measurably did in this time. And whether or not it's what I planned on doing, at least like I've accomplished this much. And that's what I really like to do. I'm a big goal plan person.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's great. It's one of our experts. It's funny. She talks about how everything we do in life is really around hope, because it's about, we even getting up and taking a shower in a way is like a goal. It's like, how do we get it, and so, but when you look at longer term goals like college and, achieving that, and it's really, it's all based on little mini goals. So yeah, it's pretty awesome that you've had those conversations with your dad too. That's great. Good. And then we talked a little bit, nourishing networks is kind of the fourth key. And we talked about, how important that is and some things you do. Are there other ways that you strengthen your network in college?
Yeah. So something big for me is, and I know everyone hates group projects, but I think it's important to look at a group project as an opportunity to make connections too, especially in the college setting. Most people are there because they want to succeed. So going into that group project with the mindset of, okay, let me connect with this person and see how we can come together to make sure we're achieving that goal. So having peer networks in college, and then having like more mentoring networks. So like my advisor and I were pretty close. I've had multiple advisors throughout college, because you have like your academic and your faculty and all of them. But I still meet with like my old freshman year advisor, because she and I became close. And so it's nice to have a mentorship also. And your advisors are sometimes not great, but for the most part, they're awesome, and they're there and they want you to succeed. So reaching out to them. Also, there's so many clubs and organizations on campus. I'm in a sorority. I'm Panhellenic President. So I do a lot with clubs and organizations on campus. And so that's always an opportunity. I joined the rock climbing team this year. So that's been an interesting addition to my whole social schedule as well. But having those opportunities to say, like, I'm interested in this. I wonder who else is interested in this. You can make your own club or go join that club. And not only does that allow for networking for later on, but it allows for you to have that peer connection and peer support. So I think that the opportunities are there, and sometimes it's scary to put yourself into them, and it's easy to stay in your comfort zone. But I think that getting out of your comfort zone a little bit is sometimes the best way to find that network. And then, of course, always like if you have that family structure, to have that support, because I do. I've been very, very lucky on the family end of things. My parents are awesome. I have a twin sister who's incredible. So I always have them to reach out to, but their opportunities are there, and it's scary sometimes. But I think that reaching out, even to maybe just one person in your class, is just the start of it. And everyone's there because they want to help you succeed. They want to see you succeed, and everyone's there to succeed. So there's common goals that you can find with your peers there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it kind of leads me to the fifth key to hope, which is around thinking challenges. So eliminating those challenges. And one of the things we do is internalize failure.
Yeah.
So say you reach out to a couple of people and they reject you, like we take that personally and we think nobody likes me. And then it just, and then we isolate ourselves even more. And I think that's a big challenge, especially in the college, to kind of overcome and not internalize that and see as maybe that's still not the right person that I'm supposed to connect with.
Exactly.
And kind of try again. And it sounds like you're really good at, continuing to try until you kind of find the right groups and, people that you relate to. And
yeah, I think that internalizing that failure is the biggest block to success and to finding that hope and to achieving your goals. Because I think back, and I'm somebody who does not handle failure very well. I tend to internalize it, beat myself up a little bit, and then I've gotten a lot better about it. It's something to look at. I think you learn way more from failures, and it's nice to have that reset as to a gratitude thing, or even like hey, I did reach out to that person. Kudos to me for reaching out and putting myself out there. Because even though it didn't work out, like that doesn't mean it's never going to work out, because it will work out sometime. Everything, and this is cheesy, but I think that everything does happen how it's meant to happen. I don't think that life sets you up to just fail. I don't think that's ever a thing. And if you do have those little mini failures along the way, it doesn't mean you failed at life. Because I bombed a quiz last week. That doesn't mean I'm a failure. That doesn't mean anything. It means, okay, here's how I need to study. Here's what I need to learn again to get through it. And I think that shifting that mindset, which is a lot about what hope does, is so important, because failure is a hard thing to deal with. And I used to say my biggest fear was a failure, but I don't think that's accurate anymore.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a big shift, and that's amazing. And to see it that way. And, it took me so long in life to figure that out. So yeah, for sure. Are there any other challenges you have, like thinking, do you ruminate a lot? Like think about the past over and over? Do you worry about the future a lot? What's going to happen?
I'm all of that. I'm a worrier. I think back on something I did like 2 years ago, and I'm like, how could I have done that better? And it's something where, again, I have to look back on it and say, okay, how does this affect me now? Like, am I affected by that one person? Like today I cut off somebody pulling into my driveway, and she got out of her car and came and yelled at me, and I was really upset. But does that affect me now? No. I am fine. For yelling at me makes no difference in my life. I'm sorry she was having a rough day and felt like she had to yell at me. Like, I did not mean to cut her off. I thought I gave her enough space, but doesn't affect me. Yeah, I was upset in the moment, but chances are I will ruminate on that at some point. But shifting the mindset. And then it's much nicer to look at those things from a bigger picture, and especially about the future, because that's something you can't control too much. You can do small things to control it, but in the end, the future can be very uncertain, and that's a scary thing. And so that's something where for me, I'm like, am I going to get into grad school? Am I going to do the program I want to do? Like, what if I don't like my program? And so I think about those things, and I'm like, there's no harm in trying. There's no harm in doing what I can do now. Because worrying about the future, okay, what are the steps I need to take to make the future I want happen? Going back to the goal setting. So for me, I want to get into grad school for clinical mental health counseling. Okay, so I need to write my statement of purpose. I need to get my references. I need to start my application, which it is started. I am that much of the way through. But there are certain things that you can do. And maybe I'm going to start today because I'm worried about my future. So I'm going to start that goal today. And that often helps me. If I can set a goal as to something I'm worried about, like how do I resolve that worry? and then I'm going to start on it, or I'm going to set that time that I want to have it done by, and I'm going to do it by then. So the goals help me kind of facilitate that worry.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, that's so true. Just writing it down and then taking one small step is, has been so helpful for my own kind of anxiety. And then you also bring up the really important part of controlling what you can control and letting go of what you can't control. And that's like one of our exercises that is, inside the sunflower is what you can control, outside is what you can't control. And like getting really clear on that and learning how to let go of what you can't control.
Exactly.
When we hang on to that uncontrollable, that's how hopelessness just escalates and escalates. So
exactly.
Yeah, so helpful. And what would you say, so for college students, are there a lot of resources on campus for college students that are struggling, that maybe can't manage or having a hard time managing their stress and anxiety?
Yeah. So there are some resources. Some of them are better than others at different campuses. I know that every campus has some sort of counseling center there. So you can go to your campus and you can talk to the counseling center and they'll get you in with appointments. I know UNR does like same day appointment scheduling. So you call at like 8 a.m. and you're like, I want an appointment for today, and they'll get you in. And then other places it may be scheduling you out more. I know it's hard with availability for college students. So that sometimes is a resource that works and sometimes it doesn't. I know that also every college has a disability resource center. So for me, because I had documented mental health reasons, I was able to get some accommodations for like test taking anxiety. So I get extra time on tests. I get to take it in like a quiet environment instead of when everyone's finishing their tests and going and turning it in, I'm sitting there panicking. So it's every place, every college has some resources. I know that for UNR specifically, when you've like reached your maximum at the counseling center, you can be referred to the clinic and you can get counseling there. So like, or they will help facilitate your needs elsewhere. There are like, if you have financial issues, there are ways to get emergency funds from UNR for medical, for just life. You can meet with the dean of students if you need anything too. Like, she's a super nice lady. I actually really like our dean of students. She's awesome. I work with her through the fraternity sorority life stuff, but she's there for everyone. Your advisors, if you're in a club, your club advisor. There are resources on campus that even if you just need like somebody to talk to about kind of what you're going through and you need that help academically or financially, talking to a professor or an advisor. Because in the end, again, everyone wants to see you succeed. So your college is there to help you. I know that, I did this when I was trying to find the UNR counseling center. I Googled like UNR mental health services and it comes up with a list. Sometimes it's not fully comprehensive and things are missing and you can't always find it. But chances are that if you talk to your advisor or a professor or a staff member, they'll be able to help direct you kind of to what you need to. And so a lot of the time there are resources you don't know about, but off the top of my head, definitely every university to my knowledge has a counseling center and they have some sort of disability accommodation center. I know at like my sister's campus, they call it something else, but she has testing accommodations through that. And so there are ways to find those accommodations for if you're struggling at all. You don't have to be like in crisis. You can just need help and you can get that help.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's so key to really preventing a deep major depressive episode, is like really proactively managing that anxiety and your needs and asking for help before you are in a crisis point, because it is much more challenging when you're in a deep crisis to have any kind of problem solving or access to that part of the brain where you can problem solve or think through it.
Exactly.
So yeah. And it's so good to know that universities and campuses are doing we often don't think of depression and anxiety as disabilities because they're kind of invisible, and yet they can be debilitating, and
UNR has been awesome for me with that. And I'm part of a peer mentor program through our Disability Resource Center. And so most of the people who are mentees, mentors, we have like neurological or psychiatric or some sort of like depression, anxiety accommodations. We don't have like the typical what you think of when you think of a disability. Most of us look normal. We're not in a wheelchair. We don't have the typical things like when you think of that disability sign of the person in the wheelchair, like we don't look like that, but sometimes our minds work like that. And so I like that UNR's Disability Resource Center is really proactively helping people with the like neurodiversity needs too. So
yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So cool. And it's so great to have you part of our program. Our program is free. It's not free. It's free for UNR students, hopefulmindsets.com on the college campus. But it's open to anyone. It's a course. It's all video courses. It's a 10-week program. We want to bring it to other universities and colleges. It's $25 a student, and yet we have scholarships available. And the goal is to really be proactive and learning what resources are available on individual campuses and being proactive about our own mental health and how we manage our stress and how we practice healthy habits, especially in times of change, which, college campuses are notorious for, and really goal setting. Like, how do you even set goals? I mean, a lot of people aren't taught that. And so there are processes for goal setting, SMART goals, and creating goals in the first place, and negative goals versus kind of aspiring goals. So we kind of go through all of that in the course, and a lot of other testimonials on how to navigate stress and different strategies for happiness and different ways to set goals, and creating networks, and all of that is involved in the program. So this has been super informative and helpful and insightful. And it's so important that we share resources that are available and we get really proactive, because college students are struggling at unprecedented rates. And we know we don't have the number of therapists we need to support them. And so I'm really passionate about providing tools and strategies. So please do share this if you know of any college student or people working with college students or people getting ready for college. So Malia, thanks so much. Is there anything else you want to add before we...
I just want to say the work you're doing, amazing. I'm glad I'm a part of it. I love this program. I love Hope. I'm super happy to be a part of all of this.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. And you're adding so much to the work. So we appreciate your involvement as well. And all of you listeners, thank you so much for listening in. It's such a joy getting back to the Hope Matrix and podcasting and talking to people about hope and really learning how do we activate hope in our lives, because it is a skill that we all have to practice. And it's, managing despair and the anger and frustration and sadness is learning how to manage it in a way that's we're not harming ourselves or other people is really the first key and important. And we do that, I think, together, working together. So thank you all, and wishing you all a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.